All right. So in the previous video or in the previous chapter, it's better to just talk about the chapter itself, right? So in the previous chapter, we built on top of what we had when we had the attention mechanism, and we now coded a full GPT model where we focused on building the other parts of the transformer model of the transformer block itself. And then we connected the transformer block to everything else that is inside a GPT model. So, for example, the embeddings and every the tokenization sits outside tokenization, and then we get into the GPT model to do all the other stuff around embeddings, and then we pass it on to all our masked attention, our feed networks, our dropouts, our shortcuts, all of that stuff. And we generated text at the end of the chapter, but the text was gibberish. Even though we gave it a starting point, hello, I am, it then wrote some random stuff. It's because our model that we had there was not trained. It did not know how to correctly predict the the next word. It just predicted the next word according to based on the randomly initialized weights that he had. So in this chapter now, we are going to pre-train an LLM. As we mentioned at the beginning of this course, an LLM is pre-trained, and that becomes known as the um, creating a foundational model. So this is the that we'll build on top of it's a foundation we'll build on top of. If you want to do fine tuning, if you want to do instructions and all of that, we need to first pre-train it. So that's the focus of this chapter. And the way we are going to do it, the way we're going to do it is going to be in 7 steps. So we're going to first do text generation. Briefly talk about text generation that we did. Let me actually write it this way because it's going to be a bit of 7 steps. So okay, text generation. We're going to briefly summarize what we spoke about in the previous chapter. So that's the reason why we will do that. And then we will get into evaluation. We'll then evaluate the text that has come out of the model to see how well the model is doing. And we will then do training, training, training and validation. We'll do some training and validation because we want to know, okay, now we've generated this text. What are we going to do with it? And here, this part is part of the evaluation step. Let's just say this is the evaluation stage. And all of that will lead us to, when we put all of those together, we'll be doing LLM training. That's what we'll be doing in LLM training. And after LLM training, we'll discuss LLM training, but all of these will be part of a training loop, a training function. After we have done the training function properly, we're then going to discuss text generation strategies. If you remember well, in our previous chapter, we did say the one that we're using is called greedy decoding because it was just choosing the next token that is the highest argument value or the highest probability. But sometimes we do not want it to just give us the highest probability. We want it to be more creative. So there we're going to talk about things like temperature, top K, and all of that so that we can generate text differently if we want every single time. So that's what we'll talk about there. And then we'll talk about weight saving and loading. This will definitely help us because sometimes we'll not have the compute power to do proper pre-training by ourselves. But someone out there in the world just put the weights maybe on Hugging Face. So what we'll do is essentially what we did in the previous chapter, just build a case, a case of the model or casing as in just a skeleton. We built the architecture as the person who has as what the person did, and then we download their weights and then just put those weights into our model. Because we would have randomly initialized our weights, we replace those weights with the ones the person has done, and we now have a model that is a replica of what they had. It's very convenient when we want to now do like a starting point. Let's say we want to do fine tuning on llama model that Meta created. Meta created these models different sizes. Even their 70 billion model to create that by ourselves will cost us millions. We do not have the millions and the compute power that Meta has, but we can replicate the architecture of the llama model and then just go to Meta's Hugging Face and download the weights and load them into our architecture. Now we have a model that Meta trained. It's quite convenient and has pushed the boundaries in um, open source or open weights models, weight saving and loading. And then the last part we just then talk about the pre-trained weights from OpenAI. We are fortunate, even though OpenAI is closed source, we are fortunate that OpenAI, they open sourced the weights to GPT-2. Hopefully soon they'll open source the weights to GPT-3 and the architecture and everything, and we can play around with GPT-3 as well, the one that built ChatGPT. That would be amazing. But for now, we have the one GPT-2 that was before that GPT-3 model. So this will be our sixth stage and then our seventh stage. So cool. That's going to be our structure of this course. In the next video, we are going to then just recap text generation and then move on to actually the content of this video around text evaluation and training and validation losses and all. So I hope you're excited for this chapter. I think it's an exciting one. All chapters are exciting to me, but yeah, let's see what we're going to learn in the next video.